Hey guys, Mike here. So, what another fun day in the market. Obviously, another FOMC meeting down, check. Obviously, another big expiration down, check. So, we'll see where the market's going to kind of go over the next week or two. And, when we look at this, we're going to go over what the Fed said, what the decision was, listen to what Donald Trump had to say about it, which is definitely an interesting clip to say the least. Also, some other things I want to cover in this video for you. One form of liquidity that could be passed very soon, which will help support the market. I have no doubt about that right there. Also, we're going to be talking about unemployment claims, which came in, and you're starting to see something now, a trend starting to be set, and something that's happening behind the scenes that nobody talks about, but I do on this channel because I like to cover everything for you and pull back the curtain a little bit. And then, of course, we'll go into some stocks that are just one squeezing, about the squeeze, all that fun stuff, okay? So please hit that like, subscribe button, guys. Really appreciate it. For those who actually do get something out of these videos. And let's go ahead and start off with what the president had to say. And I assume they already told him what was going to happen too, because he put this out pretty early on. Again, it's one of those things you just kind of got to laugh. You got to cry. You got to shake your head, all that fun stuff. And so here we go.
Now we have a man that just refuses to lower the Fed rate, just refuses to do it. And he's not a smart person. I don't even think he's that political. I think he hates me, but that's okay. He should. He should. I call him every name in the book, trying to get him to do something. I've been nice to him. I do it always. I don't know how to sell. I've been so nice to him, fellas, you wouldn't believe. Let's have dinner. Too late. I'd call him too late. Come on, too late. Let's have dinner. I do it every way in the book. I'm nasty. I'm nice. Nothing works. He's like just a stupid person.
And of course, the funny part is one of the construction workers' face in the background. They're kind of like, some of them want to chuckle, some of them don't feel, what to do, and they're like, we're just here to install a pole or whatever they're doing right there. And the other one is like, I don't blame him for hating me. He's calling him every name in the book. He's inviting him to dinner. He just thinks he hates him. So, and the other thing is now, especially summertime, and my son and my friends are around, like I literally have to reinforce, which is not a problem with my son, but to understand, like, we don't call people names, right? We don't bully people. We don't make fun of people, okay? I don't know if you ever get this question as a side note. Do you ever get the question when you're teaching your kids that now? Like, but the president does it. He calls people names. He bullies people. And, of course, you now have to answer that question, which is crazy. But, let me know in the comments if that's ever happened to you. And it's definitely an interesting question to answer, to be honest with you, come up with something on that. So, anyway, that was that one. But, of course, I'm sure he obviously knew when he did the interview. They already told him, we're not cutting. Here's what's happening. And here's what the Fed actually decided. So, of course, we know they're going to keep the rates unchanged. They did downgrade their estimates for economic growth this year, lifted their forecast for unemployment and inflation, and dropped the line from the previous statement about rising risk to unemployment inflation. Also, they're waiting for clarity on how President Trump's economic policies will affect inflation and the economy, and are assessing the impact of tariffs, tax, and spending bills and other policy changes on the economy. And when asked about tariffs, this is what Jerome Powell said. And I think it's very important, especially when you get to the part about surveying businesses and talking to businesses about this.
To what extent has the more limited impact from tariffs at this stage on inflation changed your view on what the ultimate economic fallout will be from these policies and the timing of when they will materialize in the data?
So we've had 3 months of favorable inflation readings since the high readings of January and February, and that's, of course, highly welcome news. Part of that just is that core services, both housing services and non-housing services, have really been grinding down toward levels that are consistent with 2% inflation. So that's the good news. We've had goods inflation just moving up a bit, and of course we expect, as you point out, we do expect to see more of that over the course of the summer. It takes some time for tariffs to work their way through the chain of distribution to the end consumer. A good example of that would be goods being sold at retailers today may have been imported several months ago before tariffs were imposed. So we're beginning to see some effects, and we do expect to see more of them over coming months. We do also see price increases in some of the relevant categories like personal computers and audiovisual equipment and things like that are attributable to tariff increases. In addition, we look at surveys of businesses, and there are many of those, and you do see a range of things, but many companies do expect to put all or some or all of the effective tariffs through to the next person in the chain, and ultimately to the consumer. Today, the amount of the tariff effects, the size of the tariff effects, their duration and the time it will take are all highly uncertain. So that is why we think the appropriate thing to do is to hold where we are as we learn more. And we think our policy stance is in a good place where we're well positioned to react to incoming developments.
And so that's what everybody's waiting to see. You know, it's just this whole thing is a mess because, again, demand pulled forward. We know that because imports went through the roof. We know that because also GDP was what, negative, and Atlanta Fed, like I'm telling you guys, don't worry about that. That negative number is for one simple reason. It's crazy amount of imports and gold. And of course, that turns out to be the case because now the Atlanta GDP for Q2 and Goldman Sachs are like, you know, high at this point in time. Shocking there. And of course, even you guys in the comments, other people I talked to, interviews I've seen, people were buying. They were buying cars ahead of time, buying all kinds of stuff, especially expensive items, trying to avoid the tariffs. Okay, I mean, what Apple flew in how many tons of iPhones and electronics on a big old plane, and so we know that happened. Then the tariffs have been all over the place, getting delayed. This sector over here, this sector over here doesn't even have any anymore, or whatever. And each country has a different one. So again, all this stuff still has to filter through the system, which will be definitely filtered through by the summertime, should be. And done with. And we still got other tariffs that may even happen because remember, the president's going to be sending out letters to each country supposedly saying, here's your tariff rate or whatever it is. And so we'll have to look at that. Now, the unemployment part, as you see today, and this is important to look at, this is what we're waiting on, you can see the continuous claims are going above 250K for the first time. This goes back to 2021. And so that's a first for now. You see it was coiling. Now it's moving up. But then you see initial, like this is spiking up, heading towards 250. Now again, last time we hit 250, that's when we sold off right there. You see that one? That's like a nice little sell down in the market right there. But again, 250 to 300 when people start paying attention. Once you get to like 325, 350, the market really pays attention at that point in time. Okay, I've showed you that in the past. So this is key. But one thing that is happening, remember, what are you seeing videos of? If you don't keep up with stuff, like my brother doesn't, and I don't blame him, and you're better off not keeping up with this. That's what I'm here for. But again, you can go on YouTube and just go, person gets deported from Home Depot, restaurants, whatever. And all these videos will pop up and everything because people are filming with their phones and all this other stuff. But you can see it. If all these people are getting deported from companies like Home Depot and all these restaurants and hotels and all this stuff, then guess what that is? That's an opening job now. Now you would think, again, I told you, did Home Depot like not run the stuff on this person? Of course they did. They ran on all their employees. They're a publicly traded company. In the spotlight, right? They don't want to be in the spotlight for that. But again, I've told you, I've done this before. It's not like you do it on purpose. Somebody hands you some documents, you go, I guess it's them. Let me send it to HR. And they run it and go, they're documented. They must be legal. Not how it works, right? But again, these are jobs. So if you're getting 500 people a day being deported or some crazy mess, and they want the goal is like 1,000 to 3,000 a week. Okay, so if that's the case, those are open jobs. That's what's happening, really, right? So let's say you do get 500 a week. Well, that's 500 a week every week. Okay, so now those are opening jobs for maybe somebody who's legal to get it, right? And so that can help sustain employment. It is something that's going on behind the scenes. Nobody really talks about it, but that's what's happening. Okay, so keep that in mind because it will have an effect. Okay, now as far as the liquidity, before we get to the charts, they're planning on easing the capital rules, limiting bank treasury trades. Okay, and so what they're going to do is basically not have as much capital on there, so they'll be able to buy actually even more treasuries if they want to. Whether or not this is going to work, who knows? That's what we got to find out. But again, you see right there, this move aims to boost liquidity in the $29 trillion treasury market and reduce borrowing costs for the government. And so if that goes through and the banks are allowed to buy more treasuries, then guess what? They're buying them. That means other people aren't. Where's the money going? Well, money's most likely heading into the stock market. Right, that's what could happen, and that's what you see in the past. Okay, Treasury started buying all these bonds, $10 billion worth. Well, that could be $10 billion going into the stock market. It's got to go somewhere. You don't have to go in the stock market, but could go into real estate, could go into a savings account, maybe whatever. But some of it's going to go into the stock market. You almost guarantee it. Okay, and so we'll have to wait and see if it's going to get done. Seems like they're trying to push that, and so they're trying to come up with all these different ways that the Fed don't want to cut, right? And the Fed wants to continue to roll off their balance sheet. Then they're trying to find ways to get around that. Okay, and so that's what we got going on there. Now, when it comes to stocks, you can see, Tesla right here. We're not going to go over the indexes today. I'll do that tomorrow because they're just coiling. They really literally doing nothing right now, just coiling. That's all they're doing. But Tesla, you can see in this pennant, right? And so this thing, we've seen it before in the past, is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Okay, and that means you're going to see an explosive move. Again, on the shorter term time frame, you can see 335, 344 is a good target up here for liquidity, and there's liquidity right below it. okay, between 299, actually 297 to 310. And if you don't know how to spot this, I mean, a lot of times you can just go into TradingView, type in right here, pennant, okay, wedge, triangle, whatever you want to put in there. Again, pull it up, you can see this right here. You see this target, for a real target, this would be way higher. Okay, it's around like 400 bucks. But I'm just giving you a short-term target. That would be a long-term target right there. You can see the past. Some of these work out, some of them don't. That one worked out perfectly when it broke out of that pennant. Hit the exact target. That rarely happens, by the way. Bearish pennant, nothing happened. Okay, so that kind of gives you levels to watch out for on Tesla right there. Again, when you go through the high flyers, which we're just seeing now, you got Tim's right here. You can see it's up here to a certain level. If that level holds, you know, then obviously we're going to be heading up here to 77, and then there's all-time highs above that. Obviously, if it breaks, then look for 62.48 to hold. If that breaks, then around 55. Again, these are high flyers. So if the market dares to turn over, show weakness, odds are these are definitely coming down with them. Again, HIMS, the rounding bottom right here, still holding. Looks like it wants to break out. Got it like 64 today, came it down, held about 58. And so watch for that one right there. Again, Palantir still in this channel. It's not really so much of a high flyer. This is a whole different one, but it's a popular one, so I threw it in here just for the heck of it. But you can see clear where the levels are right now, between 132, 134, and then 122 to 124, and then of course up there to 154 if it wants to move up. MP just on a short squeeze, definitely would not chase this, but it did as an update make it through that level right there. And again, it's still getting short squeeze, so I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. Feel free if you want to. But again, on pullbacks, you know, when I look at this right here, it clearly is in another level of resistance. You know, what you're waiting for is just to see what happens when the shorts are just squeezed out, and then it has a function on its own, like how many buyers are coming in, all that fun stuff. But obviously, where it just squeezed through, you know, if it comes down and tries to retest that right there between 34 and 35 right there, if that breaks, then there's a nice little gap right there you can see between 30, 32. You can also see another level right there around 29.50. And so that's where I'd be looking at if you're looking for a re-entry, if this is going to keep pushing up, obviously. But this is just a short squeeze right now. SMCI finally kind of busting out of this pennant. I won't say busting out. Barely broke out, tried to hold. Again, we'll see if they're going to try to squeeze this one up right here because it's been very quiet, just coiling. Same thing Tesla's doing. Right, and so you can see between like 48 to 52 bucks right there will be a nice upward target if that level holds. Hood, you know, again, this one right here has done a nice move up, just stair stepped up. But if it breaks like 79.50, I believe it is, and holds it, you can see there's no resistance up to 84, 85 because of the way it was back then. I mean, but again, holding 78 was actually really good. But if it gets above 79.50, you know, obviously this is flying to all-time highs. You can see exactly what's going to happen if it comes back down. If the market does roll over and we get a decent pullback, 63, 65 is going to be your first one right there. You can see around 54, 56 is going to be the next one. Okay, Oscar, I believe it's an insurance company. I don't follow it very much, but this one right here is up to 11. It squeezed like crazy. It was up almost 20% at one point in time, I believe. But if it can hold this level, it's going to get to 24.75, I believe, is the top, and then above that probably pretty quickly because there is just no resistance. It squeezed multiple times before up to that level right there, and we'll see if it's going to be a triple top. You can see very clearly if you get a retrace right here, 17.15, that will be one level to watch out for. You can see that the bigger one's going to be around like 15.75, I believe it is, if it does come back down there. But we'll see. This is another one that's getting short squeezed out. Okay, so these are just kind of some very popular stocks right there. United Healthcare is my answer about this. This really is just kind of following liquidity, right? Anytime a fair value gap gets formed in this area, if they kind of broke out of, it's not really a pennant, but looks kind of like it. It came back down, came up today, mitigated this fair value gap, started selling back down. If it does continue down, it's going to come back down here between 298 and 303 right there, I believe it is. If it continues to finally get its traction back, then 325, 338 are right down below is the bigger box. Okay, so this is just one of those ones. And a lot of people have calls, still selling options. But again, this one's just one of those ones that, you know, is still so far below these freaking moving averages. I mean, even the 50 moving average is like still, it's coming down, but it's still like 380, I think, or something like that. So just crazy. So eventually there's no like news articles or crazy bad news articles. You know, this is going to finally, you know, get its push because there's that gap right there. If it definitely breaks 341, you finally get your gap fill. Okay, the question is, has it gotten enough liquidity to the downside? It's really just kind of trading down sideways, with July being, I believe it's best month of the year or second best month of the year, something like that. So anyway, hope you guys got something out of it. Don't forget the market's closed tomorrow. Please hit that like, subscribe button on your way out. Let me know how your day worked out. Please sign up for the membership if you want to. Less than McDonald's combo, 2 private videos, Discord, and the morning news brief every morning, Monday through Friday, for only $7.99. So anyway, have a good one, guys. Enjoy your holiday, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.